A large number of people describe indiscipline as a personal weakness and a shameful trait, as if it were something that someone could never achieve. But this view is incorrect. The truth, which very few people are aware of, is that discipline is actually a concept almost completely opposite to the way the human brain has evolved to work. This is not a metaphor, it is a definite neurobiological fact. The brain did not evolve to prioritize abstract goals or long-term objectives. The brain's primary purpose is immediate survival. Over the years, humans adapted by conserving energy, pursuing quick rewards, and avoiding unnecessary effort. In other words, your brain does not want to go to the gym. It prefers that you stay on the couch to save energy. It will not direct you to write articles or study, instead it will want you to log into TikTok, because dopamine comes from there much faster. This is not a deficiency, it is entirely a biological condition. The real problem is that today's world expects the opposite. We are told that to succeed, we must be disciplined, efficient, and consistent, but this creates a significant internal conflict. On one side, a brain programmed to act like a lazy hunter-gatherer, on the other side, a life where focus and resilience are expected. When you try to force discipline with your willpower, you will attempt to override millions of years of evolutionary coding with a few motivational phrases. And the result? It does not work in the long term. James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, provides an important insight into modern human behavior. True discipline comes not from strength but from design. People who appear most disciplined are not actually stronger or more motivated, they have simply created systems that make the right behaviors easy, automatic, and inevitable. They do not conflict with the brain, they guide it. In a few minutes, you will see that discipline is actually an illusion. Notice the mistakes you make consciously, and together we will develop a more rational, humane, and effective way of thinking and acting. If you have ever felt weak due to procrastination or angry with yourself for not following your plans, this video will not blame you. It will only show that you have tried the wrong method and now you can see the right way. Although discipline may appear theoretically simple, thoughts like wanting enough, focusing, and resisting impulses do not reflect the truth about how the brain works. Because your brain does not care about long-term goals, its priority is survival, comfort, and energy conservation. If you do not understand this, you will always be in conflict. Most of humanity lived under harsh conditions where resources were limited and survival was the next day's sole priority. Therefore, the brain evolved to prioritize immediate rewards. Eating now became more important than storing food for the future. Sleeping more was safer than taking risks. Avoiding unnecessary efforts meant saving energy for critical times. The brain evolved to prefer the fastest, most pleasurable, and least costly options. As a result, this software still runs in you. When you try to get up early and go to the gym, your brain perceives it as a threat to energy conservation. When you open your computer to start studying or working on a project, it immediately suggests checking social media because the pleasure there is instant and guaranteed. Activities like the gym, technical books, writing articles, do not give immediate rewards and require effort. The brain resists this. Most importantly, your brain is not structured logically. It works effectively, but it cares not for what is good in the long term, only for what requires the least energy at the moment. In neuroscience, we call this cognitive ease. The brain always tends to choose the path of least resistance. This choice is not made consciously, it happens most of the time without awareness. Therefore, the problem is not a lack of willpower, but a design mismatch. While your brain wants to survive and feel good, you want growth and to achieve your long-term goals. As long as these two intentions do not align, you will constantly feel disappointed, exhausted, and unsuccessful. James Clear summarizes this situation perfectly: motivation should not be emphasized. Environment is the most important factor to consider. In other words, if you always have to rely on willpower, it means you are trying to fight against the brain's natural design. And you will always lose this battle because over time, you will get tired. When you are tired, your brain goes on autopilot, and autopilot always chooses the easiest path. If you truly want to change, the first step is not to try harder. The first step is to understand your current situation and determine what you are up against. Now that you know your brain is programmed to sabotage against any challenge, an inevitable question arises: what if the problem is not within you, but in the environment you are in? In the next section, we will explore how your environment actually shapes your behaviors and how you can adjust it to work in your favor. If this content makes sense to you, do not forget to hit the subscribe button and join our channel. Thank you for your support. Now that you understand your brain is designed to choose the easiest path, it is worth examining the area where these decisions are made, namely our environment. Many people see self-control as an internal strength and a kind of moral power that must be developed. However, the reality James Clear mentions is even more confusing. Self-control is fragile and can collapse in the face of a poor environment. Think about it: you decide to exercise. You are determined and eager to change your life. But when you wake up, your workout clothes are in the drawer waiting for the freezer. Your shoes are in the car. Outside is cold. Moreover, the couch is only 3 steps away from your bed. Your phone is in your hand, Instagram open. Now the choice is not between good and bad. Your choice is between the easily accessible option and an alternative that requires more effort. As you can see, the brain always prefers the option that requires less effort. That is the main point. When trying to change your behavior, you are actually maintaining an environment that is completely opposite. Here comes the concept that changes how thousands of people understand discipline: choice architecture. The term Clear uses refers to the idea that human behavior is shaped by what is nearest, most accessible, and most visible. This is not just a matter of strength. It is a matter of behavioral engineering. For example, according to a study Clear cites, changing the placement of water bottles in a cafeteria, moving them from the back to the front, increased water consumption and reduced soda intake without any motivational campaign. What changed? The environment. The decision became easier. When a healthy choice becomes the simplest option, the brain does not resist. It becomes easier to follow. Now apply this to your own life. Want to read more books? Instead of leaving the book in the drawer, keep it on your bed. Don't want your phone to distract you? Turn off notifications, hide your device, or use blocking apps. Decided to exercise early in the morning? Place your workout clothes next to your bed, as if setting a trap for your own laziness. Because the most important thing to understand is this: discipline comes more from preparation than effort. Disciplined people are not stronger, they simply manage their spaces and habits better. When the right environment is created, the right behavior becomes almost inevitable. They don't rely on motivation. They build a system that makes the correct action easier than the wrong one. This is the key. Stop relying on sheer willpower and focus on reshaping your mind alongside your environment. A behavior you consciously practice today can become automatic tomorrow in the right setting. But what if you could go further? What if you could not only remove obstacles in your environment but also change the habits your mind performs automatically? This is where habit stacking comes in, teaching you how to turn your existing behavior patterns into allies of discipline. So far, you've encountered 2 important truths: your brain naturally tends to avoid work, and your environment influences your behavior more than your willpower. Considering these 2 realities, a question inevitably arises: how can you make the habits you want automatic? How can you progress toward your goals without relying on a dependable source of motivation? The answer lies in one of the most powerful methods James Clear highlights: habit stacking. The human brain works in 3-stage habit loops: cue, routine, and reward. These loops operate with you even if you are not consciously aware of them. Brushing your teeth, checking your phone while sitting on the couch, drinking coffee in the kitchen, these actions are automatic because they require little effort. Habit stacking offers a simple but effective approach. Instead of creating a new habit from scratch, you attach it to an existing habit. By using a cue that is already present in your brain, you make the new behavior easier. For example, after brushing your teeth, an automatic habit, you can try meditating for 2 minutes. After breakfast, you can write a daily entry. Immediately after locking your door, you can review your thoughts for the day. These sequential actions create a new connection in your brain. The brain starts associating the new behavior with the old habit. Implementing this method helps shape automatic behaviors and fosters discipline. Why is this so effective? Because it removes the biggest barrier, starting. Beginning an action requires more mental effort than continuing it. Once you start, inertia works in your favor. Habit stacking creates momentum. This momentum, over time, makes behaviors consistent more than willpower does. However, caution is needed. This method requires a strategic approach. You cannot attach any habit anywhere. The new action should be short and precise. Start with something under 2 minutes. Your goal should be clear, not vague. Saying, "Read 1 page," is a better target than "read more." It should be done immediately. After the previous habit, perform the new action without pause. Adopting this logic builds a mental path for discipline. You no longer need to ask, "Do I want to do this?" Your body will automatically perform the behavior. This is where real success lies. The correct action is taken without doubt, laziness, or rationalization. Interestingly, these small initial stacks accumulate over time. They turn into strong habits. In reality, you shape a lifestyle with connected small habits. Even though these are effective, why do many people still procrastinate despite knowing what needs to be done? The answer lies in a fundamental point. Procrastination is not laziness, it is poor planning. In the next section, we will examine this common belief and understand why your habits fail, not due to lack of effort, but because the 4 invisible rules of behavior change are not followed. Procrastination is not laziness but poorly designed systems. The reason your habits fail is not due to lack of effort but failing to apply the 4 essential rules for behavior change. James Clear defines these 4 rules as the fundamental principles required to make any habit sustainable. These 4 rules are: 1. Make it obvious. If the habit you want is hidden or invisible, it will gradually be forgotten. You need to continuously motivate your brain to act. The more clear and visible it is, the easier it becomes. If you want to perform a habit, it is important that it is always in sight. This involves identifying the habit's cue. For example, if you want to start exercising, place your workout clothes where you can see them in your bedroom. Conversely, put your phone in another room to prevent distractions. 2. Make it attractive. A habit should create a pleasurable anticipation. A habit that seems difficult at first can become more appealing through an associated enjoyable element. For example, listening to your favorite music or having a cup of coffee before morning exercise. This makes exercising feel like a reward, prompting your brain to prefer this behavior. Associating a habit with pleasure makes it easier to adopt. 3. Make it easy. All habits should start as simply as possible. If a habit becomes complex, your brain avoids it. The biggest challenge is starting the habit. Initiating an action usually requires more effort, but once started, the effort decreases. For example, if you want to exercise, begin with just a 5-minute walk. By taking small steps, you can gradually build a larger habit. Instead of setting huge goals at the start, it is more important to make it easy by starting small. 1. Make it satisfying. Immediately after the habit, you should provide a reward or something satisfying. While the brain can form a habit, rewarding yourself, like watching a favorite show after reading 10 pages, reinforces it. Making something enjoyable encourages the brain to return to it consistently. When these 4 rules are applied, your habits become automatic. Undesired behaviors require less effort because your environment naturally and effortlessly supports your habit. Now you understand how these rules work. They facilitate desired behaviors and help you achieve your goals with less thought or willpower. If you've come this far, you're now standing at a real crossroads. You can keep criticizing yourself for not being strong enough, for not having endless willpower, or for struggling to stay consistent, or you can start today by designing an environment, habits, and identity where discipline becomes inevitable. Stop waiting for motivation, it's unreliable and fleeting. Don't punish yourself for moments of weakness. You don't need to be perfect, you just need to be consistent enough for the systems you set up to work for you. The first step is yours to take. Which habit will you reshape today? Write it down, because even writing it is a vote for the person you're becoming. Building habits isn't about perfection. It's about showing up consistently, even when life is hard or when you don't feel like it. There will always be distractions, setbacks, and unexpected challenges, and that's completely normal. What truly matters is having a system in place that keeps you moving forward anyway. Think of habits like planting seeds. You water them a little each day, not all at once, and over time, they grow into something strong and lasting. Even small wins are important, because they signal to your brain that progress is happening. Be kind to yourself. Falling off track doesn't mean failure, it means you're human. Keep your environment ready, your habits stacked, and your identity aligned with who you want to become. Step by step, day by day, discipline stops being a struggle and starts becoming your default way of living. You don't need more motivation, you just need the right setup. Start small, start today, and watch the change unfold. Every choice, every tiny action, and every small improvement is a building block for the person you are becoming. This is how discipline grows, not as a burden, but as a natural part of your life. Remember, consistency compounds over time. The tiny actions you take today may seem insignificant, but they add up faster than you realize. Skipping a single workout, ignoring a small habit, or delaying a task might feel harmless, but consistently taking small, intentional actions shapes your identity, your mindset, and your life. Systems matter more than motivation, more than willpower, more than short bursts of energy. Design your environment so that good choices are easier than bad ones. Remove obstacles, reduce friction, and make the right actions obvious, appealing, and effortless. Discipline isn't about forcing yourself to act when your mind resists. It's about creating conditions where the right actions happen naturally. When you align your habits with your identity, you stop fighting yourself. You stop relying on rare moments of willpower. Instead, discipline becomes automatic. Imagine waking up, reaching for your journal or workout clothes without thinking, because the environment around you guides your actions. Imagine your future self being shaped not by struggle, but by systems you designed to make progress inevitable. Every small step, every repeated action, every tiny adjustment builds momentum. And momentum, more than motivation, will carry you forward when life gets tough. This is the secret: discipline is not a goal, it's a reflection of your identity. It is the natural outcome of clear systems, intentional environments, and consistent habits. You don't become disciplined by fighting yourself, you become disciplined by creating a life where the right actions are easier than the wrong ones. Start small. Make tiny changes. Stack habits. Align your identity with who you want to be. Be patient, because real change takes time, but trust the process. One day, the person you were fighting to become will be the person you naturally are. And at that point, discipline is no longer a struggle, it's simply who you are.